My plants are dead! Because it's winter and the first frosts came and murdered them. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Hugh Carnahan, the Hillbilly Millionaire, and we are on the Hillbilly Homestead, and I'm gonna be showing you how to do the Back to Eden method and chop and drop. Stick around, you're gonna like it. This is the easiest way for you to do almost no work and have a supercharged production of food ready waiting for you, and you just letting nature take its course all through the winter. Stick around to the end, find out. You might be watching this right now and thinking, I can't wait for spring. There's nothing I can do. It's wintertime or it's fall. Well, first frost has killed my plants, and then now it's several weeks later because I'm super lazy. But you could have done this almost immediately. I'm prepping my garden for next year, so I can have zero inputs, and we're gonna be doing chop and drop and the Ruth Stout method. That sexy old broad has saved me tons of money. So step one is the chop and drop method. Many people spend their precious time at the end of the year pulling their stuff away. Oh my God, there's a chicken. Hello, chicken. I thought we were being attacked, but it was a chicken. Many people spend their time all year, all summer, growing. And then they have all this biomass that exists above the ground. Well, we're gonna be mimicking what nature does. And nature is super awesome. There's no gardeners out there tilling. They're not doing backbreaking work. And we're gonna show you how to replicate that super simply in this video, starting with something you can do right now if you haven't already scrapped your garden. If you've already thrown your garden away, don't worry about it, because there's something you can still do, where come springtime, you don't need to do anything and you will have a fertile, awesome garden ready for you. All right, so we're gonna get to chop and drop right now. Now, some people make chop and drop sound extremely complicated, and it can be a very difficult process. So what you do is you chop things and then you drop them to the ground. Ready? So we chopped it, that was step one. And then here's step two. And then you can stomp on it if you want. That's unnecessary. You can stomp on it. All right, so we're just gonna do that to the rest of the garden. This is my lower and lean trellis system. We're cleaning that up. It worked out okay, I don't know. I like the growing trellis, but these tomatoes, they actually came up out of nowhere. They were regrowth from last year. I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be thinking, Hugh, you can do that for tomatoes, but you can't do that for cucumbers. Well, let's put that to the test. Here's a cucumber, chop, drop. Hey. All right, here later we're gonna pile hay all over this. It's gonna start decomposing all this stuff down. And then you're gonna have a nice fertile environment. Stick right to the end to see what all that's doing. All right. Chop, drop, chop, drop. All right, in case you didn't get that, come over here, you chop, and you just drop it. Look at that. Chop. Drop. Woo! All right. What about this okra? Chop, drop. Chop. Drop. What about this pepper plant? Can pepper plants do it? Chop, drop. Even here, had flowers for Thanksgiving. All right, throw them right there. They'll just decompose down. Be fine. What about this big behemoth? Is this one going to be doable? We'll find out here. Chop, drop, chop, drop. All right, guys, we're going to get into what is actually going on here with chop and drop and the Ruth Stout or Back to Eden methods. All right, so we're gonna go into nature and mimicking a forest. A forest, when it grows and grows, and then when it dies or it goes dormant in the winter, it loses all its leaves. There's a big pecan tree behind me, which you're seeing on the screen. That pecan tree loses its leaves every year. They fall directly at the base of it. And then next year, all right, these nutrients that went to make this came from the ground right here. That tree returned it to the ground. It's going to decompose where it sits. The roots, all the organic material over the last 100 years on this spot has made it to where that pecan tree likes it. We are mimicking that. You just saw me chop and drop. Right here is where our pepper patch is. So it spent a whole year growing peppers, really big and strong, giving us peppers, and then when the first frost killed it all, we're gonna return that right here. And next year on this spot, we're gonna drop peppers. Now, so much of gardening, when I never did gardening for the 28 years before I got into permaculture, was because there's so much effort. You're spending your time weeding, tilling the soil, doing all this stuff, buying very expensive additives, getting potting soil, all these things that are completely unnecessary. Instead, this is going to mimic what nature does and show you how to get inputs for free. If you're doing grass clippings in the summer, you can throw them on too. All of that just decomposes, right? All these tomato plants, it spent all year growing and building up all that infrastructure. And then in the winter, so many people just take that, they bag it up, and they take it to the dump, and they toss it out. Well, we are putting it right back on top of the place where it's gonna grow next year. Now, the Ruth Stout method is we are gonna take hay or straw, and we're gonna spread it all over this. And it's gonna rain and snow, and it's gonna just continue to decompose all throughout the winter. And come spring, when it's time to start planting, everything's gonna be ready to go. We're gonna have nice, fertile ground that's moist, and it's gonna be good to go. Don't worry about the cold weather plants, right? We've got some chard over there, it's still alive. I'll probably do a final harvest, cover it up. We've got strawberries that you may have saw in a previous video. They like the cold. We're gonna cover them up. And whatever grows and pokes through that deserves to win and live. And we're there returning all the nutrients. So many gardeners spend their time adding things to the soil, but you can just do nothing, right? This has taken us largely an hour, but most of that time was spent figuring out how to film it. We're gonna do nothing the rest of the winter and have a perfectly awesome fertile garden to plant our plants right into. And so we're gonna get into the Ruth Stout method now. Woo! All right, so right now you see us spreading the hay. And what us spreading the hay is actually doing is this is a big organic layer of matter. The grass spent all year growing really, really big and strong, and then people cut this up for cattle. Well, we were able to get one of these for free from a farmer. Actually, it was for a 6-pack of beer because it was spoiled hay. He didn't want it. It was too old, it had been left outside, so he couldn't do anything with it. So this is basically free for me, but that's because this is a rather large area. You can go to your local, hardware store or something like that, maybe pick up some bundles of straw. Now, it's generally, there's fierce debate online, I'm not gonna get into that, but generally people agree that putting hay instead of straw is better for the environment, or better for your garden, because straw has already extracted most of the things. Other thing people say is you shouldn't do either, because there's grass seeds that you're coming with it. You don't know what's in this hay bale. You could get all kinds of stuff that's now decomposing in your very nutrient-rich garden. And that is also completely true. So take everything that everybody says with a grain of salt, come to your own conclusion about what you think is best for your property. Again, these are just rules of thumb, right? Some of you guys that watch this live in apartments, and you obviously probably can't do this stuff. You're gonna have to do it in a potting soil. But you can still do this stuff to some degree. I know my brother, he's got a teeny tiny little apartment, or he has a teeny tiny garden that's just a little 2-foot by 4-foot raised bed garden that him and his daughter and son and his wife grow stuff in. And that's a good example of, on a small scale, you can replicate what nature's doing, and you're gonna have a very thick layer. Now I'm gonna make this super thick. People are gonna say, "Phew, why would you make it that thick? That's kind of unnecessary, don't you think?" And you'll be shocked. Stick around, subscribe to the channel. Come spring, all of this will have decomposed down to almost flat because it decomposes that much. And we are doing our last bit of harvesting for chard. I was actually pretty shocked. We've had several nights of freezing. But this chard plant will likely make it all the way through the winter. There's a good chance of it, and it'll just poke right out of this. Now that all this is gone, same thing, we're just gonna cover this all up. Now you definitely don't need this much hay. This is considered by a lot of folks, will be considered to be overkill. But all of this will end up decomposing all the way down. So now what we've done, we've supercharged our entire garden with greens from the summer. All these nutrients are gonna get broken down. I'm gonna get this stuff out of here. All this is gonna support organic life. You're gonna have molds and mycelium and all kinds of stuff running in here. And if you run outside right now, you chop and drop your area, throw some straw or hay, even better, on top of your garden, you just let nature get hot and cold and rain and wet and dry out and all that crap through the winter. Come springtime, you're gonna have a super fertile, abundant bed to grow from. And here on the screen, you should see examples of that right now. All of that was done, zero effort, zero work, great soil chemistry. And again, it cost me $0, zero inputs. Maybe a 6-pack of beer for this. Hay bale, realistically, if you want to buy a hay bale, that's 40 bucks. 40 bucks, an hour of your time. You have super organic, healthy stuff to grow your food with.